Last season's 5-round championship came down to the last race of the last round between ex-teammates, now rivals. This year, 4 rounds. Returning champions, new Utes, new sponsors and new drivers. Who's it going to be? Shell Helix Motor Oils proudly present the Porter Group V8 Ute Championship. The New Zealand V8s were starting their 11th season at the Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park in Taupo, boasting a new look, new drivers, and for the first time, New Zealand's first female Ute racer, Alex Whitley. To explain the changes, category manager Paul Isaac.
We've done a complete restructure in the off-season, and all the shareholders have agreed to reduce our 6 rounds to 4 rounds per season to make it cheaper for the guys and less time away from home and their businesses and what have you. And we're also not doing the South Island this year, but we'll look at doing the South Island alternate years. So and it seems to be working well, and we've got a lot of new drivers, fresh drivers coming into the category. We're in for 15 for a start for Taupo, and hopefully the numbers will grow a bit. We're really pleased. We've got Alexandra Whitley coming into the series. We're really pleased to have her on board. It's great to have the First Lady into the category. We've got Richard Moore, the current champion, back in, and Paul Manuel is back in. We've got previous champion Chris Hanley has come back into the series, so looking good.
Qualifying was staged under sunny conditions here in Taupo. Track temperature around about 36 degrees and all the usual suspects were back. But the real surprise was 2013 champion Chris Hanley putting the placemakers forward on pole.
Considering we haven't been in a car for 2 years, I thought the low 44s was going to be where we needed to be, and punching it out first lap, I was pretty stoked. So just had a few new cars coming over from Australia as well, so hopefully at the next round we're going to be even stronger. But yeah, it's looking pretty competitive this year. P2 and P3 is Richard Moore and Paul Manuel, so the 2 last Ute champions. So yeah, I think I've got my work cut out for me, but yeah, I'm up for the challenge.
So on pole position for race 1, it is Chris Hanley. Alongside him, the sprint champion, Paul Manuel. Row number 2, it's Glenn Collinson and Alexandra Whitley. In row number 3, Andrew Porter and Dirty Dave Kernahan. Row number 4, Jeff Spencer. Further down through the field, the champion, Richard Danger Moore. A technical infraction has meant he will start at the very back, and that is going to be hard work around this 3.22 kilometre circuit here at Taupo. Brilliant conditions. There is the front row. It's the traditional Holden versus Ford. Great to see Chris Hanley back, but a bit of a tardy start, and that's allowed Paul Manuel to sneak up, I think, and take the running as they head down into turn 1. Good start too for Glenn Collinson, just about making contact with Hanley as they go into 1, and Alex Whitley, by the look of it, right round the outside. So she certainly hasn't let the boys intimidate her. She is the first lady New Zealand V8 Ute driver, and she is putting on a hell of a performance at the moment. Hanley and Whitley locked together. Behind them it is Andrew Porter. Out in the front though, it is Paul Manuel, second in the title chase last year to Richard Moore. Remember, Moore is starting from the very back, so we'll watch his progress as well. Remember, out in the front it is Paul Auto Manuel in the Parts Master Super Freight Holden. Second place is the Ford, that's Glenn Collinson. This is the battle we're watching at the moment. This is Andrew Porter in the Porter Group Holden. Just in front of him is Chris Hanley, the champion in 2013, but in those days, of course, he was racing a Holden. Now he is out there in a Ford. Big field of New Zealand V8 Utes working their way around the 3.2 kilometre circuit that is Taupo. It's the first round of 4, and it's as close as you like, and this is what we've come to expect from the Porter Group Utes. They head down into the big sweeper. Andrew Porter all over the back of Chris Hanley. Meantime, out in the front, Manuel just starting to stretch that lead, but Collinson is right there. This is Alexandra Whitley, her first time in a V8 Ute. She qualified in 4th position. She's just going to get out-muscled here a little bit by Chris Hammer Time Hanley, but she's having none of it. They're door handle to door handle as they work their way down the front straight. As I said before, Alex Whitley's not going to be intimidated by the blokes in this field. She's going to give as good as she gets. Andrew Porter looking to move up the inside as well. Manuel leads them through the complex. Then it is Collinson. Look at this little scrap going on here. It's the Holden Ford battle. Remember, Chris Hanley in a Ford this time. He's got track position, but he can't make the pass stick. And it means that Andrew Porter moves through into 3rd place. Further down through the field, we've got the Kernahan family battling it out for supremacy as well. Richard Moore is slowly but surely making his way toward the front of this field. Remember, he had to start in last place because of a technical infraction. We believe that his ute might have been just a fraction light under the technical regulations, and that's why he was penalised with that start. Chris Handley hasn't lost any of his talent, hasn't done a lot of driving in the space between his 2013 championship and today, but he's back and back with a vengeance. Qualified first, so he's certainly got the speed. Down the inside of Porter he goes, and Porter checks up the rest of the field. There is the Kernahan family. There is the Mitre Trade Ute of Richard Moore, so he is amongst this bunch now. This is Alexandra Whitley. First heard about her in the New Zealand motor racing circles in the Sangyong Action Ute Series. Well, the Utes weigh about the same, but that's the only similarity, I would think. The big number one on the side of the Holden, the Mitre 10 Trade Ute, the James Urquhart-owned Holden of Richard Moore. He's the defending champion, but he hasn't got his championship off to the best possible start. Look at this battle group. Handley leads it, then it's Whitley, then it is, in fact, then it's Porter, then it's Whitley, down into the sweeper at the top end of the circuit. They come once again. Then it looks like Jeff Spencer into the mix as well. So we get to the leader, and down the front straight, it is Paul Manuel. Said in an interview just a couple of weeks ago, just absolutely loves racing. Celebrating over 20 years of top-grade New Zealand competition is the man they call Auto. He is the defending, or should I say, he's the sprint champion. Finished second in the title chase to Richard Moore last time round. This battle is holding up too. This is a battle for 4th and 5th. Andrew Porter, multiple Super Truck racing champion in New Zealand. Right in behind him, it is Alexandra Whitley in the Waikato Resurfacing Porter Hire Group Ute. In behind them, Jeff SOS Spencer in the Core Steel Holden. Jeff's one of the originals. We're missing a few of the originals today. No James Huggy Urquhart, no Peter Chaos Ward, and no Brett the Scud Rudd, but they will rejoin the series. So it's going to be a bumper series this year for the Porter Group Hire New Zealand V8 Championship. This is race 1 of 3 for the weekend here at the Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park. And I can't believe the performance that Alexandra Whitley is putting on here. Never raced one of these things before. I suppose you could say the same thing as when she first climbed into a Sangyong Ute as well. A real talent from the Australian known as Skippy here in the Utes, now residing in New Zealand, soon to be married to a Kiwi. But for the moment, she's not concentrating on that. She's concentrating on the tailgate of Andrew Porter's Porter Group Holden just ahead of her. That's the battle for 4th and 5th on your screen. Paul Manuel continues to lead it. Glenn Collinson in 2nd, Chris Hammertime Handley in 3rd. There is Handley. Well, we talk about the P word in the off-season, and we're talking parity, of course. There's been subtle changes to the Utes, the Fords and the Holdens to make them even more closely competitive, and we're seeing that here in race number 1. So well done to Paul Isaac and his technical team. Whitley has a good long look up the inside through this double apex sweeper at the bottom end of the circuit here at Taupo, but she can't find a way past. And just in behind them, it is SOS, Jeff Spencer, then it's the father and son combination of the Kernahans, and there is Richard Moore. So he's already made his way through some of the field. Remember, he started at the very back of the field. Qualified well, certainly had the speed in the Holden, but unfortunately penalised on the start. There's two identical KCL Fords, Dave and Jeff Kernahan. Dirty Dave and Jeff Ripples Kernahan. Remember, all the Ute drivers have got nicknames. So there is the high man, that is Andrew Porter. SOS is Jeff Spencer. This is Paul Auto Manuel in the Super Freight Parts Master Castrol. Oh, we've got a problem there for the 82, and that is Connell Dempsey. Well, he hasn't really come to grips with the Ryco Ford because he's straight out of the Porsche Championship. Just imported a beautiful new Porsche, a Manthe Porsche out of Germany. So he's doing double duty here at Taupo today. There is the defending champion, and he's absolutely getting monstered at the moment by Dirty Dave Kernahan in the KCL Ford. So once again, we see the classic Holden Ford battle. If you cast your mind back to last season, it came down to the last race in the last round between Richard Danger Moore and Paul Auto Manuel, and it fell in the favour of Richard Moore. So that's why he carries the number 1. And if you're wondering why he's a little further down through the field, well, he started from the very back. Next opposition for him will be Jeff Spencer, one of the originals in the Porter Group V8 Utes. This battle on your screen suddenly just outside of the top 10 at the moment. Good field of races. 15 Utes took to the start line today, and that is expected to grow over the 4-round championship series. You can see just how close the racing is. You've got to be absolute picture perfect in your line selections, and you've got to be absolute picture perfect when you want to make a move, because it is the Ford-Holden rivalry that we've come to know, and this is the 11th season of the Porter Group Utes, and it comes down to a bit of fine fettling because these Utes are pretty near identical this season. Kernahan leading Spence, leading Moore. And then we go back to the second of the Kernahans. Big move coming from Richard Moore, just really starting to turn the screw on the back of Jeff SOS Spencer. It's not going to go around the long way through turn 1, surely. Gets a little bit closer though. Jeff Spencer in the core steel Holden out of Palmerston North. Richard Moore out of Auckland, the Mitre 10 Trade Racing Ute, one of the stable of Utes owned by James Huggy Urquhart. Huggy's not here today, but he's another one of the originals along with Peter Ward. Saxon's starting to hide up. I think Richard Moore is fast losing patience with Jeff Spencer. They say in an informal poll that Jeff Spencer is the hardest of the Ute drivers to pass. You're getting a graphic example of that there at the cost to Richard Moore at the moment. They work through the infield here at Taupo, heading down into turns 6 and 7. And while these guys are battling, it means that Dave Kernahan, that's him in the KCL Ford, is getting onto the back of that group as well. This battle, by the way, just inside the top 10. This is 6th, 7th and 8th on your screen at the moment. 8 laps, race number 1 for the Porter Group Utes, and out in the front it is still Paul Manuel. Richard Moore is trying every which way to try and get around Jeff Spencer, but he can't do it. And meantime, Jeff Kernahan is just starting to stretch away a little bit here, so that's playing into his hands. Races within races everywhere you look around this 3.2 kilometre circuit here for round 1 of the Utes Championship. Only 4 rounds this year. We stay in the North Island. It's all done to restrict the cost, make the racing a little bit more enjoyable. If you ask any of these drivers, they all say one thing: it's got to be fun or it's not worth doing it. Yes, they're as competitive as any other class when they're out on the racetrack, but it's a whole lot of fun too. Moore dives down the inside. Spencer's got to let him go. He looks over, he thinks twice about it. He's going to make it hard for Richard Moore, but Moore just uses a bit more racecraft and takes the spot as they come out of 1. But Jeff Spencer's going to have to pull another trick out of the book here if he wants to get back on Moore. This is the race leader in the new colours this year for Paul Manuel. This is the Super Freight Parts Master Holden. Right in behind him, speaking of new colours, another brilliant paint scheme for the DNA Custom Paints Ford FG of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. You certainly won't miss the Ford as it works its way around the circuit here. But at the moment, he's got to be content to follow Paul Manuel. First and second at the present time in race number 1. Chris Handley, great return to the Utes after being the champion here in 2013. He sits in 3rd place. Manuel Lefevre just starting to stretch that lead out just a little bit from Collinson. Handley working his way onto the front straight here as well. Up into the chase they come now, but it's about terminal velocity for the Utes. 400 horsepower from both the Commodore and the Ford. Way around about the same, nearly 2 tonnes, plenty of fun. Good brake package on these trucks as well, and of course they run on Yokohama tyres. So it's very much a controlled class of racing here in New Zealand, but it's a very popular one. Checkered flag comes out, and it's Manuel claiming first blood in the new championship series. This is the battle for the minors. Glenn Collinson goes across the line in 2nd place, and he records the fastest lap time. So Paul Manuel gets the win in race number 1. 2nd place is Glenn Collinson. In 3rd place it is Chris Handley. And in 4th place it's Andrew Porter. 5th place goes to Alexandra Whitley. And in 6th it's Jeff Ripples Kernahan. Another debutant, Sam Fillmore, is 11th.
We qualified okay and got the jump on Chris at the start, so that was pretty good. And unfortunately Richard had a bit of an altercation this morning, but there's 12 races, so it is a good start. We're pretty happy. Great for the guys, great for Jake and the team, and yeah, it's awesome. Look down pit lane, there's a great lineup of sponsors, new sponsors on board, and and there's more to come as well, so awesome, great for the class. Just want to say thanks to Super Freight and Parmaster for coming on board as well.
We got a very good start. It was very clean going into turn 1, which doesn't always happen, but it was nice. Everyone gave some good space. I got some good drive out there and just followed Paul. I had nothing for him, to be honest, but it's just good to be running there and having a good race.
I think you could tell I hadn't been in one of these things for a couple of years. My start is sort of really what let me down there. Went back to about 5th. Could only fight my way back to 3rd, but I think we showed good pace through towards the end of the race, and I think we've still got the pace to sort of hopefully the reverse grid race make our way through. So
Quick look at the highlights, and it was all about Paul Manuel. He got away. Glenn Collinson did a good job, and there was close racing, as we always expect. Race number 2, it'll be all different. Richard Moore will start toward the front. That's coming up after the break. was history in the making here at Taupo. For the first time ever, there was a lady competitor in the V8 Utes. The Wimber-born Alexandra Whitley.
Big weekend for you, swapping over from a Sangyong racing ute to a V8 ute, and it's quite a transition.
Yeah, it's going to be a big weekend, juggling the two classes and having the timing from each class, so I'm glad I've got that gap in between. But I can't wait to see what I can do in the V8 ute. I was actually surprised they're not majorly different. The brakes are harder and there's a little bit more acceleration, but mid-corner they're actually quite similar because they're both so big and heavy you still have to wait for it to turn. But yeah, I'm loving it. It's really exciting for me, and not only me but for other girls, and it sort of leads the way for females in motorsport. Matt and I came here to Taupo last week and did a bit of driver training, so I learnt a lot about that, and Matt's an excellent driver, so it's great to be his apprentice, so to speak, and learn straight from the best. I'm very grateful for Porter Group and Matt Spratt and Jake Stoneman for helping getting me in the car, so I'd love to come back and show what I can do and prove my point.
Quick look at the grids for race number 2. It is Connell Dempsey on pole position. Alongside him, Simon the Bandit Usher. Then it's Danny Studdard out of Australia, Sam Fillmore out of Auckland, and then Jason Mario Land and Dirty Dave Kernahan. Further down through the field, let's see how the race 1 winner went. Paul Manuel will start from grid 15. Alongside of him, it will be Glenn the Coyote Collinson. Good start once again, a little bit slow getting underway was Connell Dempsey, but a good start too from Danny Studdard in the Ward Group ute. He'll lead them into turn 1. Oh, there's a little bit of close contact going around there, and down round goes the Bandit. Simon Usher gets tagged. There's a few more in it as well. That is Jason Mario Land by the look of it, and the Better Auto Parts Ford involved, and that is major damage on the United Fragile Freight ute. Have a look at it on the Shell Helix replay. Diving down the inside comes Sam Fillmore, looking for racing room. Maybe a little bit of contact between Fillmore and the Bandit, Simon Usher, and then it was a chain reaction after that, and unfortunately caught in it car number 21, and that was Jeff Kernahan, so he doesn't look like he'll play any further part. Safety car out here in race number 2 here in Taupo. And in the front, it is Danny Studdard, originally out of Melbourne. He's done a fair bit of racing in New Zealand. He partnered up with Sam Fillmore to be multiple New Zealand Endurance Championships in the Trash Family Motorsport Ferrari. Big things expected of Danny here, having his debut in the Porter Group Utes. That's him in the front. Glenn Collinson again has got right to the front of the field. He wasn't caught up in the incident in turn 1. In fact, he took to the grass, and that's why he sits in 3rd place. Just ahead of him, it is the defending champion, Richard Moore. So they will get going this time. Through the chase they go. The safety car has pulled off. We are racing once again in the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Utes, and Studdard's got the responsibility, if you like, to lead them into turn 1. This is where all the drama happened. No problems at all this time around. Paul Manuel just making up a spot as well. Jeff Ripples Kernahan moving through. So too another good start from Alexandra Whitley in the Waikato Resurfaces Porter Group Holden. That's the Matt Spratt ute. Matt's been coaching Alexandra in the wills and ways of ute racing, or V8 ute racing I should say, because she's no stranger to utes, having been one of the originals in the Sangyong Action Ute Series. That's her just on your screen there, car number 48. There is Jeff Ripples Kernahan. Meantime, Danny Studdard, a standout in the Australian GT and Australian Endurance Championships over the last few years, looking to go back to the Bathurst 12 hour this year with his teammate, and that is Sam Fillmore. Sam Fillmore in the field as well. He's got a little bit of work to go if he want to match his teammate though. Once again, inheriting a great start, just taking to the grass through turn 1 was Glenn the Coyote Collinson in the DNA Paints FG Ford. He sits in 3rd. Richard Moore trying to put a move on Studdard as they work down into the sweeper, dives down to the inside. Studdard's had plenty of racing miles under the belt, so he'll be awake up to that, and he is. Makes that Ward Demolition ute just as wide as possible as they head up the straight here at Taupo. A bit of a heat haze. It's still pretty warm. Track temperature right up there as well. So as I said before, these utes absolutely identical. Comes down to a little bit of fine fettling, maybe a little bit of tyre pressure changing as well in the conditions we've got. Through the chase they go. Moore gets a little bit closer. Collinson is right there as well. This is a dream start for Hamilton's Glenn Collinson, having his best championship start ever, I think, in the Porter Group V8 utes. So well done to him. They flash past our track cam as the field heads down the pit straight here and into turn 1 once again. Getting a little bit racing on the inside there was Andrew Porter. Paul Manuel in that battle as well. In behind them, it is Alexandra Whitley, more than holding her own. A inside the top 10 finish in race number 1, looking to repeat the dose here. Porter and Manuel get together. They say Rubbin's racing, and we get a bit of that in the Porter Group Utes. Trying to dive down the inside of Andrew Porter is the second of the Porter Group Utes. That's the Matt Spratt Ute at the hands of Alexandra Whitley. Chris Hammertime Hanley just trying to move through on her inside, and going with her was car number 12, and that's Dave Kernahan, Dirty Dave Kernahan. So this 3.2 kilometre circuit, a real test for man and machine. A lot of drivers don't like it until they really get to grips with it. A couple of nasty off-camber corners coming down to the fastest part of the circuit now. This is turn 9 as they head down past the old clubhouse from the old 1.4 kilometre track configuration days of years gone by. Started doing a good job making that Ward Demolition Holden just as wide as possible, keeping Richard Moore out. You see Moore just getting a little bit squirrely under brakes. The front of the Mitre 10 Trade Racing Ute dives down under the hard braking application. Collinson ready to pick up the dregs in third place, and then Paul Manuel's right there as well. Remember, Manuel won race number 1. So it's all about a championship, and it's a condensed championship this year. Only 4 rounds, only in the North Island. Every finish will count. Through the chase they go once again. Danny Studdard out of Australia having his debut in the Ward Demolition Holden out in the front. Then it is the Mitre 10 Trade Ute of the defending Utes champion, and that is Richard Danger Moore. Collinson tries to dive down to the inside, just leaves the pass a little bit late, or maybe it was just a feint to maybe put off the attentions of Paul Manuel, because Manuel is right there, just drifting a little bit wide. I think Andrew Porter might have spun. No, he maybe gathered it back up, but it got very sideways coming through too. So it is on for young and old here in Taupo, race number 2. Third race grid positions will be determined by the points of the meeting. This grid position determined by the reverse order of finishing from race number 1. So once again, nose-to-tail racing as we've come to expect here in the Porter Group V8 Utes, and it's as close as you like. There is Paul Manuel. He won race number 1. He'll be looking to improve here in race number 2. Race leader continues to be Danny Studdard out of Melbourne, Australia, in the Ward Demolition Ute. This is number 12. This is the KCL Transport Ute of Dave Kernahan. Good move coming here from Richard Moore. He gets a whole lot closer to Studdard, really starting to put the acid on. That's the fastest part of the racetrack through turn number 9 here at Taupo, and they are really hammering down into the big sweeper at the top end of the circuit. Who goes to the brakes later? Will it be Moore? Moore dives down the inside. Studdard sees it coming, but then runs a little bit wide. Door handle to door handle stuff as they turn onto the front straight. Oh, and a little bit of contact there. And I would say that Danny Studdard would be pretty lucky that he didn't puncture a tyre there, but we've got a change in the leadership. It's now the champion from last season, and that is Richard Danger Moore in the front. And here comes Glenn the Coyote Collinson. Well, it's about keeping the speed up through the turns, and that's exactly what the Ford pilot did. Has he managed to get into second place through the chase? Yes, he has. Studdard goes back to third. It happens in the blink of an eye, folks. That has been a highlight of the V8 racing in the Utes for years and years and years. It's fun off the track, but it is desperately competitive on. Here comes Paul Manuel down the inside looking for a way round Studdard locks it up and runs wide through 1. And is that going to open the door for Andrew Porter as well, the high man looking to go up the inside of Studdard? Can he get the job done? No, he's caught out for track position, and Studdard will hold on to it for the moment anyway. Another little bit of contact there between the Ward Demolition Ute and the Porter Group Holdens. They are going at it like it's a world championship. This is the first round of 4. There's a whole season still to come. Look at this. Porter down the inside this time has Studdard. Going with him is Chris Hanley, a truck and trailer move, and there's nothing Studdard can do about it because he'll be on the outside for the next corner. Can Hanley make the pass stick? Studdard comes back at him. Into turn 6 they go now. Round the outside comes Chris Hammertime Hanley. Can he live there? They are door handle to door handle. The mirror goes from the Studdard Holden, and Hanley pays the price because Alexandra Whitley goes up the inside of him. Hanley was caught on the outside. He doesn't get the spot, but he loses 2. Great racing here in the Porter Group Utes. Richard Moore in the front. He's the defending champion. Glenn Collinson trying to shut him down as they work their way into the sweeper at the top end of the circuit. Manuel's got his way up into third place and restarted at the back. Then it is the high man, and that is Andrew Porter. Then it's Danny Studdard in the Ward Demolition Ute, and then it'd be Alexandra Whitley and also Chris Hammertime Hanley. And these 3 or 4 as they are now, because Jeff Kernahan's going to join the battle as well, you could throw a blanket over them. Into the chase they come once again. Collinson gets a little bit closer. Forward on Holden. The age-old rivalry. We've seen it. This is the 11th season of the Porter Group V8 Utes, and it's going to be an absolute cracker. New faces, defending champions, returning champions. Last lap, 1 to go. Has Collinson got anything? Can he make the move? Can he pass the champion, Richard Moore? Or will Paul Manuel have something to say about this as well? That's Manuel in the 15, the Super Freight, Parts Master, Castrol Holden. Got maximum points in race number 1. Would love to repeat the dose here in 2, but it's maybe a bit of a big ask. They work their way up into turns 4 and 5. 5 always catches a few out. It's desperately off camber. They work their way in now. Moore knows just how wide he's going to have to make that Holden to keep out Glenn the Coyote Collinson in the DNA Paints Ford. Battles within battles once again. Started giving it everything to keep Chris Hammertime Hanley behind him. And that's Connell Dempsey, a better showing for him this time. Oh, and there's a little bit of a bump there from Hanley just to let him know he's there as they work their way through turn 7. There is Alexandra Whitley. She's been in the fight all the way in this one, just as she was in race number 1. So this is a battle for the minors at the moment. Studdard just making that Ward Demolition Holden as wide as he can. And look at the witness marks on the side of the Placemaker's Ford. Chris Hammertime Hanley's been in the wars. He's the 2013 champion of the class, making a welcome return. Here comes a big move round the outside from Alexandra Whitley. I think she's going to run a little bit wide, is she? Studdard's going to live down the inside. Oh, there's contact, and major contact for Alexandra Whitley and also Danny Studdard. So 2 of the newcomers in the Porter Group V8 Utes get together in the big sweeper at the bottom end of the circuit. This is the run to the checkered flag. Richard Moore's going to claim his first win here in Taupo. Glenn Collinson's just not quite close enough, I don't think. Through the chase for the last time, it's going to be the Mitre 10 Trade Racing number 1 of Richard Danger Moore claiming race number 2, and he gets the fastest lap as well. So Richard Moore gets the win. Official results now. Moore gets the win from Collinson, Manuel, Porter, Hanley, Kernahan, Alexandra Whitley, Connell Dempsey, Jason Mario Land and Danny Studdard. In 11th place, another debutant, Dave Shaggy Lowe. The rest of them caught up in the turn 1 incident.
Stoked for the Mitre 10 Trade Racing team. We've set ourselves a little challenge, having to start off the rear of the first race. So we've got 3-4 guys that are really fast and definitely title contenders. So if you have a bad race, it's going to really cost you. So yeah, it's just about consistency.
I saw it all unfolding. I left a bit of a gap between me and them when the last car sort of checked up and stopped. There was room for me to use half the track and half the grass, so I avoided all the carnage. Popped out in 3rd place while everyone's parked up at turn 1, and happy days, mate. It was all good from there.
The heavens kind of opened for us a little bit there, off the back last, and I think we were 4th or 5th or something, so that was quite good. There's a lot of drama in front, as to be expected in the reverse grid. Taupo, turn 1, first meeting of the season, so it was always going to happen. But yeah, happy with that, and we've got another one, Savo.
Well, it was on from the very start in race number 2. This incident taking 4 of the Utes out, including Simon the Bandit Usher. Early race leader was Australia's Danny Studdard, but he was getting monstered by Richard Moore. Plenty of close quarters racing as we've come to expect, but in the end, it was the defending champion getting win number 1 here in Taupo. Well, a fantastic start to the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Championship season. Biggest car count we've ever seen, including a whole lot of newbies. And one of those is Alexandra Skippy Whitley, the First Lady competitor in the New Zealand V8 Utes. Also making his debut, Sam Fillmore got his start in motor racing in offshore powerboats. Driving the Panorama Motorsport Ford on a full-time basis this year, Jason Mario Land. Also making his debut, coming back to racing after being a star of the 80s, Dave Shaggy Lowe. And from the Exotica that is the Porsche Racing Series to the V8 Utes, Connell Bullet Dempsey making his debut here at Taupo. And Australia's Danny Studdard making his debut here as well, completes the lineup of the newbies for the 2017-18 season. Final race sees Paul Manuel and Glenn Collinson on row number 1, Richard Moore and Chris Handley on row 2, then it's Porter and Whitley on 3, Kernahan and Land on 4, and Studdard and Dempsey on row 5. Row 6, it is Kernahan and Spencer. Row 7, Fillmore and Usher, and in row 8, it is David Shaggy Lowe. So top point scorers at the front. A good start here from Glenn Collinson. Is he going to get the jump on Paul Manuel? He's going to crowd him right to the outside of the racetrack. Manuel comes back at him. Good start too coming from Alexandra Whitley on the outside. She's going to go around a few if she can here through turn number 1. Progress halted just a little bit by Chris Hammertime Hanley, but meantime it is Collinson in the Ford. Once again there's a little bit of contact, and that was once again in the wars with Simon Usher and also Mario Land, Jason Land involved in the second of the Panorama Motorsports Ford, and that has taken a heavy hit at the front, so I would think he will be taking no further part. Meantime the racing continues as they work their way through turn 5 and into 6. And in the front, it is the DNA Paints Ford FG of Glenn Collinson. Right beside him at the moment, just giving him a bit of a love tap as they go through turn 7. That is Paul Auto Manuel, behind him Richard Moore. So the heavyweights have come to the front here in the final race of the weekend, which has been hugely successful for the Porter Group Utes. In there as well, Andrew Porter. Then we get a look at Danny Studdard, making his debut in the Peter Chaos Ward Holden. Meantime, down into the sweeper for the first time in this, the final race of the weekend. Paul Manuel couldn't get any closer than he is to Glenn Collinson at the moment as they work their way out of the sweeper and head down the front straight once more. Line to stern, making their way through the heat haze. It's Ford, Holden, 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 Ford at the moment. Then it's another Holden in the form of Alexandra Whitley. Behind her, Danny Studdard. Meantime, at the front, it is Glenn Collinson. We mentioned it before, having his best start to a V8 Ute season in, such a long, long time for the man from Hamilton in the FG Ford. Paul Manuel pushing him all the way. In fact, there's nothing in it. You could throw a blanket over the 4 of them. Look at them dice in position as they come down into the braking area for turn 1. Diving down the inside is Andrew Porter, trying to get up the inside of Richard Moore. Can't quite do it, but it's going to trap Moore on the outside for track position through 2. So Andrew Porter will fight about it, but then he gets trapped on the outside as Moore comes back at him, and trying to go with them is Chris Hammertime Hanley, and Hammertime's going to get the job done, is he? No, he doesn't. Porter shuts the door as they work their way up into turn 4 and 5, and once again we see a little bit of contact, and as sideways as you like is the Porter Group Holden of Andrew Porter, but he's still hanging in there in the fight. Again, they make contact. The Holden shoots sideways and Hanley claims the spot. Meantime at the front, Collinson stretching the legs of the Ford, just getting a little bit of breathing space between himself and Manuel. Richard Moore is there. There is Hammertime Hanley. There is Andrew the Higher Man Porter in the Porter Group Holden. Right in behind him, it is Alexandra Whitley doing a fantastic job in her first round of racing in the Porter Group V8 Utes. But this is the man that is one of the title sponsors. This is Andrew Porter, currently sitting in 4th place. Manuel gets a little bit closer now, just putting the acid on Glenn Collinson. Collinson sees it coming and just moves out maybe a half a car width, and that's enough to stymie the charge of Paul Auto Manuel. So the Coyote in the front in the DNA Paints Ford. Then it is the Partmaster Castrol Super Freight Holden. Behind him another Holden in the form of the defending champion. Big move coming up the inside. Just saw it out of the corner of my eye there on Chris Hammertime Hanley from Andrew Porter. They're as close as you like as they go through the chase this time. Manuel's going to have track position as they go through the last of the left-handers, and he will get to the front of the field. Collinson goes back to second. Paul Manuel, 20 plus years of racing experience, has told here at Taupo, and he hits the front. Collinson in second, then it's Moore, then it's Hammertime Hanley, then it would be Porter. That would be the first 4 or 5 of them. Then there's a healthy gap back, and then it would be Alexandra Whitley by the look of it in the second, the Porter Group. The Waikato resurfacing, that's the Matt Spratt Ute. She'd be sitting back in 6th place. Paul Manuel starting to have the bit between the teeth now, trying to put a bit of distance between himself and that very colourful Ford of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. First of the Kernahan family comes through in 7th place as we go back to the front of this field. Collinson pulling back the advantage of Manuel under braking as they work their way through turn 7. Here is Whitley. There's Kernahan, then it's Danny Studdard by the look of it. In fact, it's not, it's Sam Fillmore. Then it's Studdard, then it is SOS Spencer, and then it would be Jeff Ripples Kernahan. So this little freight train battling out for a top 10 spot, remember, and the all-important points. 4 rounds for the championship this year in the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Utes. And this is Andrew Porter having a fantastic tussle here with the 2013 V8 Ute champion, and that is Chris Hammertime Hanley. Plenty of racing still to come here at Taupo, the final race of the weekend. How's it going to pan out? Come back after the break and find out. Final race of the weekend here at Taupo for round 1 of the Porter Group New Zealand V8 Utes, and this is the battle for the minors, if you like. Number 48 is Alexandra Whitley, just taking to the grass there. Jeff Ripples Kernahan, and it's coming back onto the track and just about taking the front off the Sam Fillmore Flex Group Holden in the process. This battle just outside the top 10, or just creeping toward the top 10. Fillmore up the inside, giant lock-up. Contact between Fillmore and Jeff Ripples Kernahan. Well, that one was always going to end in tears. Fillmore just very ambitious, trying to dive down the inside through the notorious turn 1 here at Taupo. Both safely underway once again, and just in the back of the shot there, Simon the Bandit Usher, who's really been in the wars over this weekend as well. This is Sam Fillmore, as I mentioned before, got his start in racing in offshore powerboats. He claimed the 2010 New Zealand Offshore Powerboat Championship with Kerry Gleeson in the Doosan boat. This is the front battle though. Paul Manuel in the lead, Collinson right there in second place, Holden on forward. Manuel probably has lost count of the laps he's done around this Taupo circuit, the Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park, so he would have a slight edge, I would think, in racecraft. But Glenn the Coyote Collinson's no mug, that's why he sits in second place. Behind them it is the defending champion, and that's Richard Danger Moore in the Mitre 10 Trade Holden. So the meat in the Holden sandwich at the moment is the DNA paints forward of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. Trying to tack onto the back of that bunch is Andrew Porter. Maybe a problem here for Richard Moore. He's suddenly just lost a little bit of pace, and he's fallen off the front bunch a little bit. So they work their way through the chase once again. Super smooth is Auto. This is Paul Manuel, past New Zealand V8 champion, past president of the New Zealand V8. So he's been on both sides of the fence as an organiser and a competitor, and 9 times out of 10 both. Heading down into turn 1, this battle for first and second hots up once again. Final race for the Porter Group V8 Utes. This is all about points gathering for a championship that stretches over 4 rounds this year. North Island based, been restructured as a result of a think tank at the end of last season. It's all about covering costs for drivers and teams alike. Manuel, of course, won the shortened sprint series championship, but played second fiddle to his one-time teammate Richard Moore in the True Championship last year. That's Moore sitting in third place, but it's Paul Manuel leading at the moment. Look at the distance, close up under brakes. Glenn Collinson certainly getting the title of the last of the late breakers here at Taupo. Great conditions once again around this 3.2 kilometre circuit. Renamed Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park a couple of years ago now, in the honour of the great Bruce McLaren, just as Manfield has now been renamed Circuit Chris Amon. Down into the sweeper at the top end of town they come once again. The Partmaster Super Freight Castrol Holden of Paul Auto Manuel in the front. He's already got 1 win under the belt. He ran race number 1, remember. Good job coming from the back, avoided all the mishaps in race number 2. That's why he started off the front. The grid positions were determined by the points for the meeting. And it was the front row of Collinson and Manuel that started together, and they've been glued together ever since. Collinson got the jump at the start, but Manuel got the lead at around about half distance, and he's held it. Interested spectators clinging to the pit lane fence, watching the action here. This is Andrew Porter and Chris Hammertime Hanley. Hanley a champion back in 2013. Andrew Porter, as we mentioned before, many times a New Zealand Super Truck Racing champion, endurance racer, paired up with Clark the Dr. Proctor in the first of the Hampton Downs endurance racing in the Aussie Endurance Series a couple of seasons ago now, so plenty of racing under the belt for Andrew Porter. Once again, the pressure being applied by Chris Hanley. As we go back to the front of the field, and for a moment, the pressure eases. But once again, have a look at the braking advantage that Glenn the Coyote Collinson seems to have with the FG Ford. Closes right up onto the back tailgate of the Holden of Paul Manuel as the laps wind down here at Taupo. Manuel's holding on, but you get the feeling it's just by the skin of the teeth at the moment. One small mistake and Collinson will be through. Moore just drifting off that pace a little bit. Maybe the racer, or the not so much the racer, but the mathematician in him says, well, I'm sitting here in third place. That's a good hatful of points. I'm the defending champion. I'm doing okay. I don't have to risk too much. There's another full 3 rounds to go in the championship series. And if there were a race to finish now, it would be Manuel with the points lead. Paul Manuel leads it. Tucked right in behind, closer than he's been in the last couple of laps, is Glenn the Coyote Collinson. He pulls out of the draft, tries to get something done as they work their way into the chase. The lap's running down here at Taupo. He's got to do it now. It's put up or shut up time for the DNA Paints Ford of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. But he's got to have 1-0 in the mirror, because look at this. Richard Moore is right back in this fight now. So it's a 3-way go for first place with 1 lap to go. 3.2 kilometres to go here at Taupo. Who's it going to be? Is the Ford going to get up and claim another win? Is Glenn Collinson going to get the last win of the weekend, or is it going to be the veteran Paul Manuel? Don't discount Richard Moore yet. Plenty of kilometres or metres to go in this one, but it's the Super Freight Partmaster Castrol Holden of Paul Manuel back to his very best here in round 1 of this 4-round series. Collinson once again closes up under brakes, but he just can't quite make the pass work. Using all the advantage of sitting right under the tailgate of the Super Freight Holden is Glenn the Coyote Collinson. But he is running out of opportunities here. They work their way through 7, up through 8, and then into the fastest part of the circuit. That is turn 9. It'll be a brave man to attempt to pass there, but is Coyote going to try it? Just gets a little bit sideways. That brings Richard Moore back into the picture as well. Down past the old clubhouse they go, into the sweeper at the top end of town. What's going to happen here? Has Coyote Collinson got something for Auto Manual? That's the battle at the front of the field. It's holding on forward. Down into the braking area comes Glenn Collinson. Gets a little bit closer. Oh, the little bit of a lock up there. Tries to go on the inside. Manuel sees it coming and moves over, and maybe that's the last opportunity for the Coyote. Maybe he's not going to get the win he so richly deserves after a great performance here, and Paul Manuel is, and he's going to make it his second for the weekend. He pulls out as they head down into the chase for the last time. Watch the braking performance from the FG Ford of Glenn the Coyote Collinson. He's just not close enough this time. Now he closes it up as they go through the left-right combination, or should I say the right-left combination. Down to the checkered flag. It's going to be the Holden of Paul Manuel. Claims his second win for the weekend and the 3rd race here at Taupo. And Andrew Porter is the fastest lap of the race, so we certainly saw that he had the pace. But the man that got the win was Paul Manuel. 2nd place was Glenn Collinson, and 3rd place it was Richard Moore. 4th place went to Porter, then it was Hanley, Whitley, Studdard, Spencer, Kernahan and Kernahan. Behind them, Simon Usher got the finish one from Fillmore, Lowe, Dempsey and Lamb.
You could throw a blanket over what we were doing out there. You know, Collinson and Danger Moore had pretty much the same as what I had, really, and it's just a matter of those first few laps. 1 down, 3 to go, and hopefully we can carry on the momentum. But no, I'm wrapped. It's great for the sponsors, and yeah, bring on the next round.
We got the best start ever. Launched it into turn 1 in first place, and I held it for a few laps, but I'm happy with second, mate. That's our best ever result from the opening round of the championship. It's mega.
Those two did a really good job. Paul did an awesome job to hold Glenn off and to actually get past him as well. Stoked for the Mitre 10 Trade Racing team. We didn't make it easy for ourselves, but we've come through and we've got some consistent points, and that's important.
Well, talking about points, it is Paul Manuel on top, but there is absolutely nothing in it from Glenn Collinson and the defending champion Richard Moore. In the hunt, Andrew Porter and Chris Hammertime Hanley, the champion from 2013. Well, I'm sure you'll agree it was a fantastic start to the Porter Group V8 Utes for the 2017-18 season. Plenty more to come. This 4-round championship is going to get hotter and hotter. The racing's going to get closer and closer. You want to make sure you don't miss a moment of it. We'll see you at round 2. Shell Helix Motor Oils are proud to have presented coverage of the Porter Group V8 Utes Championship.